Hello and welcome to a brand new video on PowerDrift, and today we're driving Hyundai's newest SUV. Now I know what you're doing by now. You're furiously typing in the comment section saying, this is not an SUV. But remember, the SUV is a body style. And this falls straight into the newest subsection of the sub 4 meter SUV, the micro SUV. Yes, that's a category now. And of course, that category was invented by, surprise, surprise, Tata Motors with the Punch. And they do sell 10 to 12,000 units a month. And then of course in the corner somewhere is Citroën with the C3 doing small little numbers. But this car has the potential of taking that 10 and 12,000 units a month and doubling that segment. Doubling it. I'd lay down a wager. I'd say this is the most important launch from Hyundai since the original Creta. And I'd wager something else. But let me do that at the end of the video so that you guys stay put. Wait, did I just give you guys a verdict at the start of the video? Well, I still have to prove what I've just said, right? So, watch. The Exter could very well be the best car under the 10 lakh rupee mark, but for that it has to do everything well. And I mean everything. I mean, imagine, the best car under 10 lakh rupees. That is a big statement. So where better to start than where the Punch falls short? The engine. Weirdly though, on paper this makes slightly less power than the Tata. 83 horsepower and 114 Newton meters of torque. But it has one big advantage, one extra cylinder. But does that mean it drives well? It drives actually very similar to the Hyundai Venue 1.2 or the Grand i10 Nios, which essentially has the same engine. And yes, this doesn't have a turbo DSG or DCT or dual clutch option just yet, but there's a chance it might in the future. There's no sort of talk about an N-line yet either, but again, that could happen, and it's easy. It's just something that Hyundai has to plonk in. The R&D has already been done. Anyways, let's come to what this drive is like though. It's smooth, it's sort of peppy enough. It's not as peppy as say the K12 engine in Maruti's, but otherwise generally it feels pretty nimble, feels pretty brisk, and it revs well. And it does have power in that mid and the top range, which the Punch sadly does not. Now, I'm not going to make a lot of comparative analogies between the Punch and this because we'll leave it for when we do the comparative test, the proper comparison test. But for now, I can tell you that the Exter definitely, in terms of engine performance and gearbox performance and drivetrain, drives better than the Punch. There's no question about that. In fact, Hyundai has actually thrown in a bit of a packet of masala in it and put paddle shifters. But paddle shifters are an AMT. I mean, don't think that just because you have paddle shifters is going to change the way the gearbox shifts and make it nice and crisp and as quick as, say, a torque converter or a dual clutch. No, it won't. It's still going to be that AMT nod that you feel or that delay that you feel when you pull on either of the pedals. But it's nice to have paddle shifters because at the end of the day, this is going to be bought by younger people, and younger people like me, sort of younger people, still sort of manage, like paddle shifters. It's as simple as that. So again, I'm not going to do absolute comparative tests because that's not what this first drive is all about. But remember, both the Citroën C3 and the Tata Punch have absolute benchmark handling and absolute benchmark ride quality. Both of them are phenomenal. This, on the other hand, doesn't really do either of them very well, but it does everything sort of nicely, and that's exactly what Hyundai always does really well. And it definitely could have done with bigger wheels and wider tires, because although there is no real roll, you do sort of feel the end of grip or the edge of grip rather quickly when you drive this, especially on roads like this, which are sort of twisty and curvy. But at the end of the day, this is for normal people to drive normally. in normal circumstances. Okay, let's take a bit of a breather and slow it down and talk about something that's very, very important: safety. Now, by now in the comments, a lot of you have said, "Hey, global NCAP का crash rating बोलना, hey, tin can, hey, गाड़ी तो split हो जाएगा, hey, crash test किया गया." Calm down. These are all very genuine reasons for people to get upset. But there's something interesting that I noted when we had the presentation shown to us about the car just before we drove it. One of the slides, and I'll put a picture up, I took a picture from my phone. One of the slides said that no car can meet global NCAP ratings for 5 or 4 stars today in the new structure that global NCAP has, unless it has 6 airbags as standard and has ESP as standard. The Exter has both of those as standard. In fact, they've gone to the point of saying or putting a sticker on the rear windscreen that says 6 airbags standard. They want you and I to talk about it. Hyundai talking proactively about safety. That's interesting, isn't it? And I did ask Hyundai engineers what they thought or if they knew what the crash rating on the Exter was. And they said they haven't sent it to global NCAP yet because they're waiting for Bharat NCAP to kick in at the end of this year, October, November, whenever it does actually activate. And if you think Bharat NCAP is less stringent than global NCAP, it actually isn't. They've literally taken global NCAP rules, put it in India, and they're going to have a score for Bharat NCAP as well. So I guess Hyundai can proactively talk about safety, but we will have to still wait and watch. The interesting thing is they did mention that there are a lot of changes that have happened underneath on the platform to make this car a lot safer and stronger. And then we've got a really, really long features list. It has a sunroof, and a digital instrument cluster, and a big screen, and wireless charging, and a dash cam, and cruise control, and climate control, and inbuilt navigation, and rear AC, and tire pressure monitoring, and voice commands. Sunroof खोल!
Opening the sunroof.
खुल गया. That is a lot, isn't it? And we haven't even talked about the way the damn thing looks. I mentioned right at the beginning of the video that I'd make a second wager, so here it goes. You see, the Creta is Hyundai's top-selling car for a while now, and it's been there sort of unchallenged for a bit, isn't it? And I mentioned that the Exter, is, well, the most important launch since the Creta for Hyundai. And I think that this has the potential of actually dethroning the Creta from that top step, if they can keep up with the demand that the Indian public is going to sort of overburden them with. Why? Well, with the standard subcompact SUV getting a lot more expensive, that sub 10 lakh SUV looking vehicle gap is all empty apart from the Punch and the Citroen, of course. And the Exter brings to that fight a relatively nice looking SUV with a long list of features, and most importantly, a brand that a lot of people feel very, very comfortable parking their money with. A brand that everybody already trusts almost blindly. We could very well be seeing one of the best-selling cars in India being born here, and that is praise enough.